there's going to be an honoring of veterans at the Huntington Beach Library. So the information is right over here. Please take it, and if you can make it, you have to call in because there's a limited number of seats. Our Tea Party only works because people are willing to run for office. We can only make a difference if we have somebody in a position where they can cast a vote. We are very fortunate tonight that we have 3 folks who have come to join us, and I'm going to ask each of them to talk for no more than 2 minutes about who they are and why they're running for office. First, Alan Mansour, running for County Supervisor. Alan?
Thank you to all of you for being here tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be informed and be involved. I very much appreciate that. My name is Alan Mansour. I currently represent the 74th Assembly District, which includes Huntington Beach, Costa Mesa, Newport, and some of the surrounding areas. Running for County Supervisor, which includes all of Huntington Beach and numerous other cities as well. I've got a strong track record. I used to work for the Sheriff's Department for 16 years, was on City Council for 8 years. While on City Council, I put forward a measure to make sure that those who are in Costa Mesa or in the United States illegally in committing crimes in Costa Mesa were in fact turned over to ICE and deported. As a result, we made sure that 1,300 criminals were removed from our community. As a result of that, I was sued by the ACLU. I put my money where my mouth is. I work hard on the issues. My opponent is very verbally opposes E-Verify. I strongly support E-Verify. She's backed by the public employee unions. I've taken strong stands on pension reform. My opponent has been silent on pension reform. Those are the types of issues that very much affect our county in terms of the debt we're in, $5 billion in pension debt, and you know, the unions play hard, and I've been willing to stand up to them. So I just, I put my phone number on everything. I got a strong track record. I'd love to have your support. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. If you didn't get my phone number, please let me know. Thank you so much.
Now that was an excellent example of being able to just deliver the message, deliver it concisely, and deliver it quickly. If you know anybody who would like to improve their skills, come see me, because we have a Unite OC Toastmasters Club that meets on the first and third Thursday of each month. Toastmasters has been around for a long time. It's a most effective program. Next, hello, 1, 2, can you hear me? It's my voice, I can't tell the difference. Terry, can you hear me? Perfect. Next, I'd like to call on a candidate for City Council, somebody who may have been here at a previous meeting where she made a presentation. Tonight, I'm just going to ask her to say hello and in 2 minutes tell us who she is and why she's running. Lynn Sametta.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you all of you again for coming tonight. So after that introduction, I hope I can make the grade with this, concise. Anyway, I'm a business and real estate transactional attorney. I've done a great deal of community work with homeless veterans and battered women and in different areas like that. I'm very excited to be running for City Council here in Huntington Beach in our wonderful city, but I'm also very concerned about all the high-density development that is going on in this city, and I'm excited to hear this talk tonight and learn even more about it and what we can do about it, because it's changing the character of this city, causing horrible traffic, causing, strain on our infrastructure. We're going to need more police. We don't have the public transportation in place. I mean, there are just a whole host of problems. So that's one of the big things that I want to work on City Council. I also think we are not a business-friendly city. We need to work on streamlining our permit processes, reducing fees, reducing regulations, and attracting more business instead of scaring them away, which is really what we're doing now. So those are some of the things. I'm also greatly interested in more transparency. That's one of the big problems with our high density is that it doesn't come for public review. There's no public input on these projects. That's not okay. So I want more transparency. These are just some of the things I want to work on, so I'm excited. I hope for your support, and I'm glad we're all here tonight. Thank you.
And a familiar face and member of Surf City Tea, who's running for city council, and Lynn didn't mention that she's on the planning commission, but he will. Mr. Eric Peterson.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I don't have Lynn's voice. But she does have my support. She's a wonderful candidate, and we need more than one candidate being elected to help Dave. This is who we need up there. Like she was talking about, a big issue with me, and has been as I've been sitting on the planning commission and the chair of the planning commission, is what's happening to our city right now. We have a great speaker tonight, Mr. Munzing. He has done wonderful work in Aliso Viejo. He's one of the people I've talked about on my campaign, saying this can be done. You know, this isn't the end of our city, all this high density stuff. We need to get in there and make those decisions and make those corrections to our general plan that limits this. So right now, our current general plan says this city can support 300,000 people, and it should. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think we can squeeze another 100,000 people in this place and have the same quality of life. This morning I was up in Santa Monica because I'm doing a fire alarm system up there. That's my job, right? It's a mess up there. Traffic is a mess. Just getting off Lincoln to go to City Hall and 4th Street up there, they took 2 lanes, they broke it into 1 lane and a green lane. You know that green lane's that multi-use lane? There's people that talk about that. They talk about it in the general plan. We don't need that. We don't need to cut it back more. We're not going to be riding our bikes to work. We're not going to be walking to work. We're going to be in our vehicles. And yes, I'm for the master bike plan that's going to go around Huntington Beach because we have an active community. And it'd be great to go from park to the beach and everything in a nice, safe environment so we stop losing bicyclists every week. But to say that we're going to change our habits of how we get to work, I don't think we're going to do that. And if you've been to Seattle where they do a lot of riding, when it rains too much, no one's riding. They're all trying to jump on the bus. So it just is not going to happen. And I'm going to be up there when I get elected, and when we get Lynn elected, and when everyone in this room goes home and emails their lists and gets on social media and says, I want Lynn Sameta on this council, I want Eric Peterson on this council. And when we get there, you actually have someone to pick up the phone who will not roll their eyes when you come and do public comment like some of our current council members. Someone who lives in the city, both live in the city, who's not endorsed by the public employee unions, who's not backed by the developers, who's really doing this as a grassroots effort and for the good of the community. And it's something, you know, I want to retire here eventually. And I don't want to retire in the mess I was in today. I want to retire here in Huntington Beach. So, you know, thank you again for all the support I've received from this group. And I think we really have a great speaker tonight. Give us some ideas, because when you elect us, we have to get people involved and keep the word going, else what's happened to us will continue to happen to us. We'll be in the dark. So this man's going to tell us a little of what he's done and accomplished. Thank you.
Okay, before we formally start the meeting, we have 2 sign-up sheets that we want to pass around. But before we do, don't pass that one yet, because Carol, in 1 minute, can tell us about what you want to accomplish.
Okay. Very quickly.
Carol's been active with the Precinct Patriots.
Former Surf City team. Or something or other. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to confuse all these sign-up sheets. So please sign up and let people know you were here for Surf City Tea. We're not trying to encroach on that at all. But if you like what you hear tonight, or if you don't, obviously if you don't like what you hear tonight, and you want to find out more, about high density and the next meetings going forward, because this is the beginning of what we have to start doing here in Huntington Beach. And so this meeting is really, I look at it as kind of a kickoff more than anything for us to start learning about the steps we can take and what can we do to limit or reduce, or in some cases maybe even push some things back. So this sign up that I'm going to pass around as Mike Munzing is speaking is for you to get on a list so that we can contact you for a future meeting about high density and what we can do city council-wise, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what this is about.
Thank you, Carol. Lloyd, I'll get to you after Munzing. Tonight we're going to have a speaker, and then we're going to have a business meeting. At the start of the business meeting, I'm going to let Gloria make her announcement. Unless, is it critical to do it right now? No? Okay. On the sign-up sheet that's going around for Surf City, if you've signed in on previous sheets, just put your name. If you haven't signed before, then we'd like to have your email and phone number. Again, we really want all of these books gone. If you don't have any change in your pocket, bring it to our next meeting. But if you see a book you like, take it. If you can put in $1, that would be great too. We're going to talk about our treasury during the business meeting. Okay, at this time I'd like to formally start the meeting, and I'd like to call on Mary Jane Higby for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Gracious Heavenly Father, calm our anxiety during these troubled times. We are anxious about the upcoming election and how will we be affected by its outcome. Be with all of us as we talk to others about the various people we endorse and why we do. Guide us in the words we use so as to come across in an understanding yet truthful way. Guide our nation in the decisions we make. May they be for all of us and not just one select group. We put our trust in your hands and pray in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At any time during the course of the meeting, if you want some water or some cookies, please just get up and help yourself. And there are men's room and women's room in the back. So again, don't wait. Let it hit your call. The Tea Party stands for certain principles, and in order to carry out those principles, it takes people who are willing to get active. Our speaker tonight not only became informed, he became active in government, where he has served on the City Council of Aliso Viejo, and he has further enhanced his knowledge about the subject of Agenda 21 and sustainability. It's a threat that's hanging over all of us, and we are very fortunate tonight to have a presentation that will make it clear what the problem is and what we can do. Please welcome Mike Munzing.
A little bit of pressure with the build-up. Now this is exciting. I love being here with you guys, and I'm not fully aware of because when Surf City Tea started with John over there at the auto deal there, and it's been quite some time since they've been back. So it's good to see it's back up and it's vibrant. And I'm going to move this back just a little bit, so I'm kind of filling my top of you guys here. There we go. Well, once again, my name is Mike Munzing. I'm a city councilman in Aliso Viejo. Just holding green. But I started off 25 years in the mortgage industry, 31 total in real estate. And I was a guy that refused to do subprime mortgages. I said, these mortgages are not good. I saw the light. I said, no, I will not do what's going to hurt our country, what's going to hurt our industry, and I would not do that. So with George Bush in there, I could see it coming, I could see the problems coming. And when he said that we could not have seen this coming, we could not have seen the collapse of the real estate industry coming, I think hopefully many of us, or all of us, knew that there was something wrong with what was going on. There's a lot wrong with our country, there's a lot wrong with common sense, there's a lot wrong with spending too much. And after, for 6-7 years, saying that this is not going to hold up, and then we had the collapse. And all sides of the government said, this wasn't going to happen. Well, I knew I had to get involved. That's what really got me going. And I started looking at where I could have an impact. That was early on. I could see 2007 coming. They started introducing a guy named Barack Obama. I've been a lifelong Reagan Republican, been a conservative my whole life, watching the Carter years coming into the Reagan years, and how that made me feel as a young guy, and watching how we had our prisoners or our guys over in Iran. Reagan comes in on Inauguration Day, they let them all go. I like the way this Reagan guy is better than Carter. They fear him, they're afraid of him, and he didn't have to do much to make that work. So that was really instilled in me. So fast forward to 2007, 2008, I started getting involved in the election, seeing where things were going. I had a vision of who Barack Obama was, and I knew I'd always been a Republican, whether I agreed with George Bush or not. I knew I'd always been a Republican, so I said, how do I get involved? Well, I got very involved in the initial Tea Party movements. The SOC 912 down in South Orange County with Kathy and Kevin. That has sadly since kind of dissolved down there. But there's been a lot of wonderful Tea Party groups that have maintained. Very involved with some of the things that Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin and not as much Hannity, but a lot of those guys have been very involved traveling and doing stuff with these guys too. So I've been very active from the very beginning as a grassroots Tea Party guy. Well, I got in 2010, Orange County Republican Party, kind of one of the group that came in to kind of fight the establishment, and got elected there. And then you could see that is soon after I learned about this thing called Agenda 21. Now, who has never heard the term Agenda 21? Anybody in this room? Okay, great. Most of you know what it is. I'll give you a quick breakdown. It's back in 1992, the United Nations held a Rio Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. And at that summit, you had countries from all over the world. Well over 100 countries were involved. And it was a radical environmentalist through the United Nations. Who's ever heard that the green is the new red, or the red movement? Yeah, so the green movement has really been taken over by the communist red, the redistributive socialist communists have absolutely seen their into America through the environmental movement. When we thought we won the Cold War, we thought Reagan won that Cold War, and Mikhail Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Well, Mikhail Gorbachev went to work for the United Nations, with a guy named Maurice Strong out of Canada, and they've taken over the whole environmental side of this movement, and they are dead set on destroying us from within, using the environmental movement, using what they came out of the 1992 Rio Earth Summit with, which is a 40-chapter document called Agenda 21, or the Agenda for the 21st Century. Now, this is an actual real document. You can look it up online. I've got a full copy of it. But it's not that document. That's the seed that started the whole process. From that point, George H.W. Bush is the one who signed that document and signed it to bring it here. I think he was on Prince Charles' yacht. That's what I've heard. I'm not sure. But he signed that and brought it here. We've got, have you ever seen the video with Nancy Pelosi trying to sell that in Congress? I mean, she's promoting it right after that in 1993. So that was 1992, 1993. Nancy Pelosi's trying to get it passed in Congress. Can't get it passed. But what happens is Clinton and Gore come into play. They come in and spend 7 years and tens of millions of dollars, some of which is federal funds, a lot of which is coming from what's called an NGO, non-governmental organizations. There are more organizations, more groups that are related to the government, approved by the United Nations, non-governmental organizations that pump in millions and billions of dollars into these movements. And Clinton and Gore had 7 years solid to pump this whole ideology, this whole sustainable development, Agenda 21, into every federal agency in the country. And that's why you'll see very similar movements. Well, recently, we've got the Ebola crisis, right? The Ebola crisis. You go, hey, the CDC, of course, is pointing to the Republicans because of sequester, you've cut our funds short. Well, wait a minute, you've got a $3 billion budget, yet you've only spent $100 to $200 million on communicable diseases. But they spent $500 to $600 million, Eric, this will be for you, on active transportation, walkable, bikeable communities, which is Bike trails are good, right? Hey, I was 2004 second in the state of California mountain bike champion, which was great. It was 40 pounds ago. I don't tell people that was for 40-year-old beginners, but it sounds much better when I was, got number 2. I had 2 flat tires on my final race. I would have had it, but 2 flat tires. I ran the last mile and I came in second. So, but my point is, I'm all about cycling. I love it. Hey, I should have had it. Don't knock me now. He's mocking me back there. No, but I should have. But I love cycling. Cycling's fantastic. I work with a lot of the bike groups, the bike teams, and I ask them, when the cities are trying to build these community bikeways? I know Sean Nelson we've got once again 5 Republican supervisors, and a lot of this stuff is going on under our noses right here in Orange County, right with our supervisors. And I'm going to tell you more about the boards and committees and how this is happening locally. But these walkable, bikeable communities, what their goal is, the end game of this whole thing is to get us out of our cars, into public transportation, living in high-density housing. They're shutting down, they're making it extremely difficult. All the areas, I come from South Orange County, born and raised in Orange, but have lived in South Orange County for a long time. So we've got the Silverado Canyon, Majeska Canyon, all the areas back there. Extremely difficult to get any permits, to get in. The county is blocking them all the time. They know, those who live in the canyons, they know all about Agenda 21 because they're seeing it. They figured, why are we having so much trouble getting the ability to do anything out here? And they started looking up to try to figure out what it was, and they realized it was Agenda 21. It was this movement to get the rural folks out of the suburban areas, and more into the higher density areas. I've been talking about that in Aliso Viejo, because right now they're trying to push a project where they take, I don't know if you've been to Aliso Viejo much, but we've got a real nice town center there, theater and shopping. It's really, really nice. But they want to have us put residential over new retail, and they want to put 1,200 more apartment units right in the middle of our shopping center. And I said, well, wait a minute, but we're going to get more shopping, but we need parking structures. The only way to pay for the parking structures is to put 1,200 more apartment units. Well, that's a problem because A, we don't have that many people desiring small apartment units. Oh, but they're really luxurious. I don't care. I don't care. Because the kids I talk to, I'm a lender still. That's what I do for work. The kids I talk to are still looking forward to that white picket fence at some point. They want to, Alan was here. Sorry, he didn't stay. Alan, you still, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, but he's got his little kid. And once you start, when you're a young, single person, that sounds great. A little apartment's fine. My wife used to live in apartments, but at some point, once you have a wife and a kid, or husband, and you have a family, that white picket fence, having your own piece of property is something to live in. That's a beautiful thing, and that is the American dream. That's what we've been striving for. But they're taking it away because that won't work for the United Nations. That's not how they're going to stop us from being the greatest country in the world. And that's the biggest goal, is they could not beat us militarily. So, how many of you have ever heard of not the Communist Manifesto, we know the Communist Manifesto, the Naked Communists back in '57? You guys know the Naked Communists by Cleon Skousen. Is it something? Cleon Skousen? Something like that. The Cleon Skousen wrote the Naked Communists, which he lists all the communist goals for America. Right on down the line. Take us down morally. Take us down take us down in every way. Using environmentalism. Promoting the gay and lesbian LGBT communities. Promoting, with what's going on in Houston. Right now, my pastor in Aliso Viejo, he's out of Mississippi and he's furious. And the pastors around the country, my brother's a pastor, my dad's a pastor, they are absolutely furious about the breach of the Second Amendment, the attack on the First Amendment, by forcing them to bring in their sermons. And that's all part of breaking down our society. And that's what they were breaking down the family, breaking down the marriage unit, the family unit. Part of Agenda 21, it states, it becomes unbelievable, their goals, but it says the family unit can no longer be held up as it has been. And they're breaking us down with a family unit. Look at our kids. Our kids are being told that What does mom and dad know? We've all heard Al Gore and that one thing where, you guys innately know things that your parents just don't know. Well, that's tearing down the family units, tearing down the authority of mom and dad. We're losing that with the school districts, the school boards, they're all breaking it down. They're down, the supervisors are down in Aliso Viejo, down in South County saying, oh my, why are 8th graders overdosing on drugs in Dana Point out of mom and dad's medicine cabinet? What do you think this environmental movement's all about? What do you think they're talking to the kids in school about? How the planet, their carbon footprint are an enemy to the planet. You can't, that's what they're telling. We've had too many people the left has been talking about overpopulation forever. Remember the eugenics movements back in the 20s and 30s? You hear about the eugenics and all that, how they're trying to reduce the population. Even Bill Gates is talking about that. But in the schools, with his environmental movement, I met a little kid, a little 3rd grader in Aliso Viejo. It was one of our community events. And we were having some environmental wheel of hell. It was something or other, kind of name thing. And this kid, it's really bad, I always fight it. But this little guy was telling me the finer nuances of composting. He's in 3rd grade. He should be figuring out how to catch lizards down the creek bed like I did, I mean, play Little League. Learn how to catch lizards. You're going to need to learn how to hunt and you're going to need to learn how to hunt at one point when the power all goes off because it's shutting down all the power plants. But this is the kind of thing they're teaching in our schools. They're tearing down our families, and this is all part of this whole agenda, which doesn't make any sense. So much of that, it's a good sound though. That turned mine off, I think it did. But that's how they're breaking down the family because they're indoctrinating our kids. I'm blessed because tomorrow I get to speak to 90 senior AP students at Mission Viejo High School. That's going to be fantastic. Over the weekend I got a phone call and said, our high school is doing some sort of political thing where they're trying to talk to people from different parties, and we understand you're affiliated with the Tea Party. I said, what do you need? He goes, we'd like you to speak to 90 high school seniors on Tuesday. I said, oh, count me in. Count me in and make it every day, because we're going to have a lot of fun with high school seniors because of all the indoctrination. I was in Cal State Fullerton a couple of months ago talking to 35 Hispanic freshmen and sophomore with a former New Black Panther Party member professor, and they brought me in as a local elected, and the issue was immigration. Oh, it was awesome. It was wonderful. I had them surrounded in about 10 minutes. It was awesome. Because you can make the case for almost anything. When you've got a Mitt Romney who can't make the case for why raising the minimum wage is bad, we've got real problems with our leadership in this party. When you've got Thad Cochran messing with saying what he was saying about Chris McDaniel in Mississippi, it hardly makes you want to get out and walk the precinct. Because, but hopefully next year, we've got new leadership in the Republican Party, and locally in Orange County. I'm thinking Fred Whitaker out of Orange is probably going to be our new chairman. And he's at least waking up, and I've been beating him in the head for a year or two because he's an elected city councilman about what this Agenda 21 issue is. Let me go back a little bit. I got elected in 2012 to Aliso Viejo because I went to their workshops because they were working on Aliso Viejo's Green City Initiative. And I had been studying Agenda 21 and immediately went to the workshop, and it was exactly what they were talking about. It was all the different things, when they talk about complete streets with roundabouts and all their little warm and friendly, innocuous sounding issues that they're trying to push, because they talk to guys who are psychologists and social planners and behavioral ideal guys, and they have learned what works and what doesn't work, what people listen to, and that's why they don't use the word Agenda 21 anymore, because they learned early on it sounds conspiratorial. So we're not going to use that anymore. We're going to say sustainable development. We're going to say complete streets. And they've got all these names that you can look up, and those are you have a dog whistle, listen for what they're talking about, because these are the things they're talking about. And all of it is Agenda 21. Common Core. We're all fighting Common Core in the schools. It's part of Agenda 21. It's part of the indoctrination side of it. Obamacare. The cataloging of everybody and everything you do. Once you get into a new Obamacare, do you have a gun? Do you own a gun in your home? Do you do this? How many people live in your home? Tell us more about your neighbors. It's all part of the cataloging. They got the computer systems to do it now. And that's what they didn't have in years past. Now, what do you think that big NSA site in Utah is all about? They can catalog every conversation. They can get every bit of information. They can cross-reference it. We all know what's going on, but who wants to pay attention to this stuff?
But they can't build a website, Mike.
But they can't. But you know what, though? That's by design. That's by design because, oh my gosh, we tried to do Obamacare, it was too hard to do. So we just need the government to take everything. Oh, we didn't nationalize that healthcare because even running the website's so difficult. Because after all that social media that Obama didn't know in 2008 and 2012, you think they're going to have trouble with the website? No, it's all by design. It was a $1 billion website to Michelle Obama's friend. So yeah, it's all by design, I'm thinking. So I get in there, do a Lisa Viejo, go to the first workshop. How many of you ever heard of the term called the Delphi technique? Delphi. It's a Rand Corporation in the 60s. They're doing a deal trying to figure out how to, I don't want to say brainwash, but it's how to push an idea. You've got to get a proposal or an initiative. You need to get what they call consensus. Consensus is, gee, we've got this fantastic plan. We've got this whole plan over here that we're trying to put this plan through, and we want to get that through. It's what we want, and because the United Nations likes it, we all like it. But we've got to get consensus in the community so everybody's bought into it. So you have workshops. You go, we're going to have 10, 12 workshops, and we're going to have a facilitator who's going to be promoting that. We're going to say we want community input. But they only want community input that backs up what we're doing. Because if you say that, well, what about this, and that, which isn't what we want, but well, wait a minute. You don't like it. What's wrong with you don't like the environment? Why sir, you hate the environment? This guy hates the environment. And then they'll ostracize the guy who brings up anything that doesn't agree with it. Oh, but you're right there with it. So, let's give him a hand because he's a really, really smart guy. And he's great. You know what? You'll help lead one of our work, and then we'll ostracize those who don't agree and make you feel bad. And then you get initially, and I suckered right into it. I was ticked off. I'm elected out here. What are you talking about? Wait. Oh, what's wrong with this angry guy over here? Oh, now he's angry. Ooh, angry white guy. Ooh. And it was just, they had me hook, line, and sinker in that thing because I didn't know what it was at the time. So this is, I think 2011 probably. So I go to the first workshop, ostracized, treated like hell, had all the little, warm and fuzzy environmentalists, and I wonder why, what's wrong with walking to the store? Can't you walk to the store now? You can walk to the store. You don't need this initiative so you can walk to the store. You can ride your bike to the store. But the problem with a lot of these guys is, ideologically, if they think it's a good idea, they want to make everybody else do it too. So, I heard that in one of the guys in the meeting said, well, one of the meetings I've been in, so many of them in the last bunch of years, but guy in San Clemente said, we had the workshops, we had the meetings, and the consensus in our community, you use the word consensus, so I knew he was in the meetings. In San Clemente, the folks want to be able to walk and bike to the stores. I said, you ever been back in Talega? Taga's way out there in the hills. Mom with her 3 kids on a golf course is not going to, they got their expeditions, they got their excursions, they got their nice cars. They're not going to walk to the store. If you're a block or 2 off Del Mar, my office is down there. You walk right into my wheelhouse because that's where my office is, so I know the area real well. Yeah, I like walking 4 blocks down to Del Mar, kind of hanging out. If I have a little light day, I'll walk down and grab a bite to eat and enjoy Del Mar and walk back to the office and get back to work. Yeah, because that's my choice. Because it's a beautiful area, but not when the government forces you to do that because they take away. I've heard a conversation in Newport Beach. They're talking about making that down to 1 lane on PCH. Yeah, that's what they talk about. Well, if we make it 1 lane, then people have to do something else. And that's why they're taking your choices away. And that's what, who wrote the book Nudge for the Obama's,
Dinesh
no, he's not a good guy, a bad guy. What a bad guy. Cass Sunstein, I knew I needed help from you guys. Cass Sunstein's talking about nudge. They take your options away. They nudge you in the directions they want you to go because they take your options away. So they present it as though they're giving you options. But wait, but I don't want to walk or ride a bike. But no, the car's off the table now. We're back to walking and riding bikes today. That's what we're talking about today. And they're doing it with all these meetings. I mean, I'll tell you in a minute where it gets to really hell, where they gotta sit in. I drove home from LA once a month, sick as hell. I can't believe it. But, by the way, have any of you heard of some of the heroes in this fight? How many of you have heard of Michael Shaw? Michael Shaw, I've seen his, yeah, so Michael and I, we had a 40-minute conversation this afternoon. He's excited. He wanted to say hello for those of you who watch it on the YouTube videos of, YouTube or Agenda 21 for Dummies, is that's Michael Shaw. He's the grandfather in the fight. He's been in the fight out of Santa Cruz since, 1992, basically, 1992 and a half, or whatever, they started to push it. They went to Santa Cruz first. I figured that was a nice place to push it. Now, I don't know if you've been to Santa Cruz. My wife and I went up there for vacation. That's kind of nasty. The people aren't real nice up there. And we didn't get a warm vibe at all, but they've been pushing that since '92. It's been really tough on Mike. He bought about 75 acres in a beautiful area that it was all marketed and zoned for housing, but because he didn't agree with them, it's still not built. I mean, he's still wilderness. He bought that 20 years ago and can't build on it because he didn't agree with their ideology up there. It makes it very tough. And that's another thing. So back to Aliso Viejo, back real quick. I went to one of those planning meetings, was treated like hell, found out about the Delphi technique, and realized what they were doing. At that point, I was holding what if any of you may or may not have heard of my Mike Munzing's Conservative Happy Hours. 2011, I had about 8 wonderful happy hours. They were fantastic. One of my best speakers during the week of taking down Anthony Weiner, Andrew Breitbart came and spoke. The week of taking down Anthony Weiner was awesome. My fear was that all went down. He took over the microphone at the podium for Anthony Weiner on a Monday morning in New York. Thursday was my event. So Monday night, he takes it down. Everybody's going crazy about it. That night he's on Sean Hannity. Next night he's on O'Reilly. I hear Greta Van Susteren talking about Wednesday night we're going to have Andrew Breitbart. I'm like, oh crap. Because if he's still in New York, I'm done because, it takes time to get back. So I'm watching. It's like, remote from Los Angeles, Andrew Breitbart. Like, at least he's in town. And that guy, I'm nobody. In 2011, I was less than nobody, but now I'm still nobody. But he still shows up. I gave him a call. I didn't check. I said, look, I had Brad Dacus from Pacific Justice Institute as my fallback. It's like, poor Brad. It's like, it's Andrew, Brad. I'm like, okay, I'll be there. You're great, Brad. We love you, but it's Andrew Breitbart. So we had news trucks in the parking lot. We had 4 different news trucks in the parking lot. Andrew gets there. It was fantastic. It's still on YouTube. 33 minutes of some of the greatest Andrew Breitbart. Sadly, it's not on my website. It's on another one. Just put Munzing Breitbart speech. It'll pop up. It's 33 minutes of just gold. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. He tells the whole story, and he makes some great jokes. He's being Andrew, a true Andrew at that point. And God rest his soul. I miss Andrew all the time. But so during that time, I had filed to run for Congress against John Campbell, knowing they were going to redistrict. But John Campbell was making a lot of bad decisions at the time, and nobody would run against him. So I figured I'd throw my candidacy in there just to mess with him. And it did. It ticked him off and ticked off a lot of people. That's what I wanted to do. But at that point, the new districting was coming in. Our Congressman, Dana Rohrabacher, was going to be now in Aliso Viejo. So I dropped the candidacy. Ron said, well, now you got to run for city council because they're trying to do all that green stuff you're talking about. Go fight them. For a long time I said, city council? I don't really care about dogs barking. Got a call the other day that I think you should outlaw leaf blowers on weekends. It's like, what? It's like, what about the people who want to blow their leaves on the weekends? They work during the week. It bothers me. I'm sorry. You'd be amazed what you hear as a city councilman. I mean, it's just dogs barking. We're fighting the smoking ordinances. But what was nice is that I was the very first candidate to ever beat an incumbent in Aliso Viejo. Now, mind you, we only became a city in 2002, so we're only, or 2002, but we're only 13 years old right now, but nobody had ever beat a city council member. 2 people left, 2 people appointed, they appointed 2 people to be in there, but no one had come in and beat a sitting member. So that was exciting. Won by almost 1,000 votes, which was great. Walked a ton, signed everything. I had signs everywhere. It was fun to campaign. And who would have thought I'd enjoy that? I don't know. My wife probably knew, but getting out there and campaigning is a lot of fun. What do you think, Eric? It's different, isn't it? Yeah, you're in the middle of it. It's funner when you win. Once you win, it's a lot more fun, and you remember. So we won that. And I knew coming in the door, the Green City Initiative was my fight. They'd had 12 meetings by that point. I only went to the first one because I was ostracized, and I'm not coming back and taking more of that stuff. So I circled around, spent a year becoming a council member. So when it came up to council, it was interesting because I had been promised I would get all the footnotes, and I was making all kinds of demands. Look, if this thing's coming up to us, I want to know footnotes. I want to know where this stuff's coming from. There's a thing called ICLEI. ICLEI is an organization based out of the United Nations that started a couple of years before the Agenda 21, before 1982, so it was 89 to 90. This thing kicked off. It's the United Nations, and they're the ones that write all the regulations. So they pump in through this ICLEI program that gets into all our cities, and they join, we got to join ICLEI USA because it's all sustainable good stuff. No, it's all the United Nations pumping the Agenda 21 through all the government. And ICLEI is what Elisa Viejo had joined a year or 2 before as well. So they took all the notes out of ICLEI to put into their Green City Initiative. So it was, once again, it's not run by the city people, it's run by the United Nations pumping all these sustainable ideas, all these radical leftist, destructive, anti-people, anti-environment. You got to go to your schools, you got to indoctrinate the kids even more than they're already indoctrinated. If you want to sell your home, you got to double pain, you got to do, whole long list of things. It was 150 pages of just single-spaced ideological hell is what this thing was. But nobody was reading it, and they were going to pass this thing. So it's, I'm going up to some convention. It was early March 2013. I'd been on for 2 months. I got sworn in January 2013. So 2 months later, I'm going up, find out I was at Michael Shaw's, I was staying overnight at Michael Shaw's house up in Santa Cruz, and find out how ironic that that's when they're trying to pass the Agenda 21 thing. I'm staying overnight of the head guy from Agenda 21, and that's the time when they're trying to pass it through. I raced home from the convention, stuck my city manager up against the wall there, and said, you will postpone this 2 weeks. I go, I'll back off on all my demands, all the promises you made me about all the footnotes and everything, I'll back off all of that. I needed 2 weeks. You postpone it, you table this thing. It's called tabling. I didn't know all these words before I got to city council. So I take it, they table. Pushed it off for a couple of weeks. So they tabled it. And then I came in a couple of weeks later. That's why I spent that 2 weeks. I reached out to every scientist, Bert Rattan out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Chris Horner out of Virginia. I had friends and scientists and others that I know in the industry in the fight all over the country, and I got that plan out. PDF sent it all over the country. A lot of them came back, have you seen this video? Look, I don't want to see your video. I don't want to read your book. You take this document, pick a page, write a question. Because I talked to a friend of mine who didn't know about it, said, how do I kill something? You bury it in questions. You bury the staff in questions, and that's how you kill it. I'm like, I can do that. Because I had already worked the hell out of the other council members. They knew where I was, and I was never hiding. I said, look, I ran for this position to kill this thing. My whole goal in life is to kill this thing. If you're going to beat me, I'm more than happy to die on this hill. But you got to die on another hill to beat me. So you lay it out. You lay it out clear, you lay it out, there's no middle ground, there's no compromise, and sometimes you just got to win. And that's why everybody knows. The guy who compromises wins. No, the guy who's committed wins. The guy who's willing to do anything to win, wins, because any little piece of it, it's like Obamacare. What little part of Obamacare do you want to pull out of that thing? It's cancer in our society. Every little bit of that thing was written to be a cancer in our society. And you know why the guys who wrote, a lot of the reasons why the little bureaucrats, the little 20-somethings who helped write that? Not the congressmen, they didn't write it. The little 20-somethings write that because you know what they're doing now? They're off making millions of dollars being consultants, telling companies how to live with this program. They write it so complicated that the consulting class, which, Eric, if you don't know, that's what's out there. The consultants, the attorneys, the lobbyists, those are the guys making all the money now. They're the fat cats making all kinds of money on the government. I mean, the consultant, every consultant that we have to deal with for CEQA and all the governmental regulations on environments are making $1 million a year or more. Because they're the ones trying to help us figure out how to deal with these oppressive laws that we have to do it. So, getting back to March of, early March 2013, I started getting the questions in from all over the country. I'm writing a bunch of them, others are writing them. I took a couple weeks off of work, and this is all put together by a gentleman, our director of planning. This is his brainchild. He's a doctorate from Berkeley, socialist doctorate, redistributive, collectivist ideology, doctor from Berkeley who's bought in hook, line, and sinker on this whole idea, and that who's the guy who was pushing this whole thing. So I start getting these questions in, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, every 3 or 4 hours, I'd be sending them questions. I said, hey, finally got a couple of weeks, I'm going through your document, hey, and then I'd send them 10, 12, 14, 16, 20, 244 questions later, detailed scientific questions, written by meteorologists, written by climate scientists, whatever they want to call themselves, written by people who are on our side, who understand that global warming is not happening. It's purely a tool of the left to get us to give up our freedom out of the fear of the planet melting. And I'm sorry, I am a very big Genesis 1:28 guy. Basically, paraphrased, God created us in his image, and this is our planet. He designed it for us to have dominion over birds of the air, fish of the sea, animals of the land, and over all the earth, which includes our resources under the ground. So for not drill and not frack and not to use that, for me, is a sin against God because it's a gift. You don't think he knew about that? I think he did. He designed all this plan, you know? So we pray in the beginning, and for me, that's the sadness, is that these are provided for us so we can grow and so we can survive and we can thrive and succeed and keep by. You guys had, anybody around for Bill Whittle? Bill Whittle spoke when he spoke. Yeah, I love his comment now. It's like, you know, the Republican Party is looking so small now, we're supposed to be, excuse? We should be the party of fast cars, hot women, and big guns. You know, it's like, just go and succeed and be cool. I want to be the coolest kid on the block. All these little kids who want to live small, as Bill says, well, if we're losing to the USSR and their big guns, then that's fair, that's an equal fight. But to lose to these little leftist weenies, these little environmentalist weenies, is pissing me off too. I tell you, but that takes me off. I hate that. That's why I like beating them up. So, and I love being on council because I can. So it came to the council meeting 2 weeks later, after 2 weeks of me dropping all these questions on this little guy, and all I got from the city attorney calls me laughing because he knows what I'm doing, and he's like-minded. He knows it's all a bunch of crap, and he says you're bullying him, and he's laughing, and he's telling me like, I'm not bullying him because I know I brought all the questions. They're really good. They're all scientific. They're really full of good stuff. He goes, nothing about him, you know. That's all I'm tearing apart his work because nobody reads this stuff, as we know. Nobody reads all these bills, these documents. They just pass them. Nobody reads them, but I read them, and I had a lot of other people read them. I said, pick a page and write a question. Pick another page, write another question. And some of the questions I have tie together and combine them, but 244 questions later. They now call it the Project 244. I've had other people, I got the questions out all over the country. Other communities are using the questions and customizing, tweaking them, I'm putting them out in any form they want. Here you go, guys. Go use them for yourself. I don't know if other people are winning with them, but God was good and blessed me, and I won them with that. And it was good. The meeting was awesome. 100 people show up, 60 people spoke. He never responded to one email. And I hit every department head in the city, and I'd pick other council members. You can't send them more than 3 council members because otherwise it becomes a Brown Act violation, which is all that other nuancy stuff that you'll learn. But so I'd hit different council members from different emails, and everybody knew that, this is going to be ugly. So we had a bunch of people showing up on March 20th, 2013 for the showdown. And once again, 100 people showed up, people flew in, I had people speaking from all over the place, and And then it came down to me. And it was fun, because I just said, you never answered one of my questions. And the big one was, I said, I've asked you 244 questions without one answer. I said, and I asked him some questions, and he was so ticked off. These are not rhetorical questions. Grab your microphone and start answering my questions. I go, we got all night. I got nowhere to be. I said, this is what I do. And I said, we'll be here all night, guys, so get comfortable. We're not leaving. I've got 244 questions to cover. And the council was like, they didn't want any part of it, which was cool. The one question I did get him is, where's the water coming from? Everywhere we go, we're told, this is the same thing, everywhere, from the water district, to the state, to a group I'm going to tell you about in a minute, to all these different areas, they all say that by 2035, scientists predict that, screwed up right off the bat. By 2050, scientists are predicting that the precipitation, which is what? Rain, precipitation is going to increase by 12 to 35%. Now that kind of flies in the face of all the drought stuff they're talking about. Oh, droughts, oh God. No, well, this is the other one they're talking about. So 12 to 35% by 2050. So that is going to say that the sea level is going to rise by 55 inches by 2100. Where's the water coming from? Because precipitation is rain. They're not talking about melting ice caps. They're not talking about melting icebergs. And if you've ever had a glass of water full of ice, when it melts, it doesn't raise the water level, just saying. But I was asking him, I said, look, there's not been one drop of water added to this planet since its creation. Where's the water coming from? He's like, well, okay, let me put it another way. I said, the planet has approximately 290 million square miles on it, of which 70% is water, which is about rounded to 230 million square miles. So if you raise that entire thing, because water all raises together, right? We all know that. So you're raising that by 55 inches. I'm just saying it's about 409 billion acre feet of water raises. Where's it coming from? The guy was just, right here. I got a little planet right here. It's got a little planet, a little thermometer. It's, this document mentioned global warming 34 times. 34 times it mentioned the Earth is warming in the document. I showed him other studies that say the Earth is not warm for 15 to 19 years, depending on how you're looking at it. So where's the warming? So it was fun. It was a good night. My wife said it's her favorite political night ever, which is great because she doesn't come to much, but when she does, she has a good time, and it was fun. Glad I could perform well for her, and make her happy. But once she comes out, I want her to enjoy it. It was about a 4 or 5 hour meeting. It's like, you think but it was a nice drama. But needless to say, if you can't get the votes, because remember, I've got other council members who've been approving budgets for this thing for up to 3 years. $500,000, 3 years of work into this, just for the cost of the consultants to write this thing. So you can't ask the council to vote no when they've approved $500,000. So what you got to do sometimes is just never allow it to be voted on. You still win. If they can never vote on it, and right now where it is, it's sitting with my new city manager, because the city manager that I beat this thing with, he quickly went off to York, London. He said, I'm out of here. He started looking for another job pretty much immediately. So the new city manager comes in, good guy, he's like-minded, he's awesome. So sometimes you got to change the landscape too. But we always joke, that thing's behind his filing cabinet. Out the back, and it's going to go out. So until I can, I can't bring it up and actually kill it until I flip the council, which I'm working on now. And but that's that. Couple of things. Anybody watching the clock? I can go for a day. I can go for days. Quarter. Okay. What time do you want me to go to? 8? Quarter 8?
You'll allow 15 minutes for question and answer.
Okay, I'll make it real quick. Where our biggest fights are right now. That was a fun victory. That's what started the whole thing. I've pretty much, when you win a battle like that, I've beaten the art in public places at a redistributive kind of a Marxist art in public places, saying they want to promote public art that we get to choose. But if you want to put a project in our city, you got to kick into a centralized fund. So the city council can decide to put over here on this side of the city, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. And you've got, now they want to do smoking bans and all kinds of stuff. And I look at every item that hits the table now, I said, does this make our residents freer or more oppressed? Do they have to worry about the government because we're doing this? Or are they just going, hey, we love living here, we raise our kids here, the parks are beautiful, the streets are safe, the lights are on, it's fantastic, we love living here, or, oh my gosh, I gotta do this because they're gonna, a note that says the city says I have to do what? I mean, and that's kind of the litmus test that I'm doing in being a city leader. And once you win a battle like the Green City fight, it makes it fun because they don't want to come up against you. So you put the gavel down and go, I'll do that again. I don't want to, but now it's nice because I got on, I consider that a freight train going down the tracks at about 100 miles an hour, because that thing was passing regardless of anything. It was passing, but I had to put a monumental effort in to knock it off the tracks. But as you're on council longer, you can start getting ahead of these problems earlier and sniffing them out so you never let those trains leave the station instead of having to knock it off the tracks. But now what's really going on a broader level. City level, that's great. That's a fun fight. Huntington Beach, you guys got your density issues. But the ones who are giving you these density issues, and how many of you have heard of SCAG? Southern California Association of Governments. Of course, I'm a regional council director on SCAG. Along with Matt Harper and others who are supposedly guys who are on the conservative side of things. Sadly, Matt sits in the back and doesn't say much. And when it has, and I'm not knocking that, because I like that. But, and I'm actually backing that for assembly because he's going up against Keith Kerr. So I don't want to use the lesser of two. I'm not saying that. But Keith is, we got to raise the seawalls because we really do believe that the earth is melting and the seas are rising. And it's done with you. And the city hall, the Tajma City Hall, as they say, is a nightmare, and the bunnies are cute, but come on, seriously. That's abusive. That's abusive of your leadership of the city. So I'm behind that. But I sit on SCAG, and the fun thing was, that was one of the first things I did do. 2 weeks into being on council, I'd already been the head of SCAG, a guy named Hassan Akrada, which sadly he's a nice guy. He's doing bad work, but he's actually a nice individual and handles me fairly well, because 2 years before I got on there, I was at a video camera screaming at him, calling him a Marxist. Come on, talk to the camera. It looked just like that. I was like, talk to the camera, you Marxist. But I was a little more rowdy then. But, so then I come walking into the regional council member going, hello? He starts laughing. He knew he was loud. He's like, oh, God. But he and I have become friends because he knows where I'm at. I can talk honestly with him. And, but SCAG itself is the one who are handing down a lot of these regulations. The regional housing needs assessment, the RENA numbers, on how many high-density housing units every city has to put in. This is all part of Agenda 21. They're forcing everybody to build all these high-density housing. They don't care. They say it's for low-income housing. None of it's rent control. It's all about density. They're not talking about rent prices. They're talking about density. So wait a minute, low-income housing, but you don't care how much the rents are? It's only, Robert Ming down south in Laguna Niguel. They're building this thing called the Gateway Center. It's residential, over retail, 72 units per acre. Whoa. And for me, that's insane. I don't know, what are they talking about here? I mean, I've been hearing rumors, I haven't heard numbers. Are they giving you
80 to 100.
80 to 100. Wow.
Ellison Beach is 100 units per acre. On all corners, they can do up to 100 units per acre.
It's like China.
It is like China. It's like North Korea, too. Yeah. It's like the ghost cities. Why do you think they're building the ghost cities, guys? Why do you think they're building the ghost cities? Because at one point, Michael Shaw today said they're going to be shipping us over there. It's easier to move people than housing. Well, wait a minute, I don't want to go to China. Maybe a trip to the Great Wall, but I don't want to go live there. So they're building these ghost cities, and they're making their society, their economy look good. But SCAG is the big nasty one. How many of you remember Measure M? Measure M 2, and Ron's here. I think he's about to take the microphone. So that's good. Measure M. A couple things to remember. This is all going on. Research Agenda 21, that it's all happening right here. Have I given you some ideas? I go off on a rant. I'm sorry, guys, but it's there's so many fights out there. And right now, I want to start doing Freedom of Information Act, public information requests, because these environmental groups are the key. The Measure M, Measure M2 money, those transportation bond monies, the things we all approved. We've got environmental mitigation is what they're using to go take our money, take our tax money. They go out, they buy land around the national parks, and then block human contact. So not only are they getting, the environmentalists call it the emerald necklace. They're buying all the land around the parks, shutting off human contact. They go, yeah, but I can't get to the park. Oh, sorry, we got this environment where it's all environmental. No, you can't do that. You can't go there because we're having the whatever the restoration of the impact on the little bunny rabbits or whatever they want to pick for the day, whatever the endangered species du jour is. They're not, and that's how they're doing it. And it's dangerous, and it's happening here, and it's being done by SCAG and other groups, and that's good. But Q&A. What do you think, Ron? Q&A.
Okay, thanks very much. Before we get to your questions, I'd like to have Mike Hoskinson come up. Mike Munzing talked about the use of the Delphi technique to plant ideas to get an agenda started. Mike had an experience with that right here in Huntington Beach.
Thanks, everybody. I was at the general plan update meeting last March that a few of the gals took me to. I didn't know anything about Agenda 21. I had no concept of it. I'd heard of it, but I didn't really know anything about it. We were sitting in what they call a visioning meeting in tables of 10 people, and I dared to utter an opinion that I thought paying off our debt was more important than building bikeways and all the other garbage. A woman stood up and started screaming at me. And as I'm not much of a wilting daisy, I screamed back at her. But it made me so curious that I started researching. Then I heard about a forum that was happening in San Francisco that Mr. Mike Munzing was speaking at, and a number of other folks. Michael Shaw put it together. It was like all the lights came off and said, this is a big deal. So then we came back and started seeing all the things that Mike is talking
We have
about.
that series on video too, if you want to see it.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. Seeing all these things, all these dots come together and saying, this is real, and this is happening everywhere. It's happening in rural America, it's happening in our town, it's happening in urban America, it's happening everywhere. And what I've done is try to build awareness, and to a point now, we've got a Facebook forum in town that a lot of you know about, and some of you don't. It's called Huntington Beach Community Forum. And I've started an offshoot of that. It's called HB Against High Density. And we've got 500 members plus on there now. And I'm slowly building a library of documents and videos and things of that nature. So that's a really good resource for people to sign up for. You go to HB Against High Density. And it'll take, from what Mike's talking and go further than that, and you can start to see how it really connects the dots. Because it is firmly ingrained in our town right now. And we have a leftist majority in our council that is rubber stamping this stuff every 2 weeks right now. So critical that everybody gets out and votes in a week from now. Liberals vote 2 weeks from now, we vote a week from now. But that will go a long way to enable people like Eric and Lynn to put the kibosh on this and slow it down or stop it. So HB Against High Density, Huntington Beach Community Forum, join up, let's all get involved and get knowledge together. Thanks.
We often talk about the principles of the Founding Fathers. And if we recall our history, when our nation was young, there were only 3 million people, we had 2 political parties. But they got things done because members of both parties agreed on the ends, the goals of what they were going after. They disagreed about the means on how to get there. What we have today, and what you heard tonight from Mike, and what Mike Hoskinson just alluded to, is we aren't in a situation of compromise. You can't have half of a baby. You can't have half of a common core. Either the whole thing gets initiated or it has to be opposed. So this is really a basic training class in letting loose of the idea that we're all Americans and we're all in this together, and recognizing that there are a group of Americans who have bought into an ideology that they believe with a religious fervor. And if you get into a religious war, there's no prisoners. So with that as background, let's open it up for about 10 minutes of questions, then we'll go into our business meeting. And right at the end, I'm going to have Mary Jane conduct an auction because we have some goodies up here we would like to
Give me away.
we'd like to have everybody who wants to take home something, and we'll just do an auction, and if your credit's good with us, that's okay. Yes, Carrie?
First question, how do you get appointed to or on to SCAG?
I'll make it quick, it's a fun story. They've got, I've got city council, you have to be an elected, first of all, basically, so you have to be a city councilman, mayor, or supervisor. Myself, I didn't finish the story, but being just on council, and another gentleman from Laguna Niguel for District 12, which is in that South Orange County district, he termed out, so it was an opening for District 12 on SCAG. My city manager said, hey, there's an opening. I brought it up. I said, hey, there's an opening on OCOG. What does that do? Well, that's the local COG, Council of Governments, Orange County Council of Governments. And that's the feeder group to SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, which is 6 counties, 18 million people, 38,000 square miles. Big area from the border to the end of Ventura. So I said, put my name down on that. He goes, they know who you are. You'll never get on it. You're just fooling yourselves. I go, look, my dad's a minister. I'm a Christian. I love miracles. If I don't put my name on that list, a miracle can't happen. I want to see a miracle happen. I'm going to demand a miracle right now. And, all right, I'll put my name on it. Put my name in. Robert Ming, Laguna Niguel, puts his name on there. Well-known guy. Nobody would go up against Robert because he's a good dude. He's the mayor, and everybody knows Robert. Robert doesn't know my name's on there. I call him up, hey, I was already on there. I'm going to step down. Great job. And he goes, oh, hell no, wait a minute. I want to see you on there because you'd be a lot more fun on there than I would. I'm just going out there because I'm just trying to, having you on there, I didn't know you were interested. That'd be great. I said, so you'll back out so I can be on it? He goes, yeah, I'd love to do that. I go, tell you what, why don't you, I checked it out, 3 weeks nomination, you can nominate yourself in 3 weeks, 1 week break, and then whoever's nominated for the 3 weeks, then they're going to have either a little runoff, and they pick within the group, so you can't break into this group, because the group gets to vote on who's going to be in the group. It's like a private club. So I said, how about keeping your name on the list for a while? Because nobody's going to step in and run against, they won't see me hiding back here. They're just going to say, thank God we don't have that Munzing guy, because we got the name. And so he stayed on until 3 weeks and 5 days, 2 days before the appointment. He goes, hey, you know what? I'm real busy. Can you take my name off that list? He steps off the list, and then they go, jeez, there's no nominations from the floor. There's nothing else but to swear me in. It was awesome. And they were done. It was great. So that's how I got on that. That's how I snuck on the committee.
I never could figure out how you got on there.
Yeah, because that's what I said.
Let's have some more questions. Questions on?
Okay, yes.
Terry?
Oh, yes, you pick and I'll answer.
You mentioned Inkley, how do you spell that?
I-C-I-L-E-I.
International Council for Local Environmental
So
Initiative.
they changed the name.
C-O-L-L-E-I.
That's right. I forget because it just becomes Inkley after 3 years.
How do you spell it?
I-C-I-C-L-E-I.
Lori, you have a
What's
question?
your question?
Yes, I'm on the Fountain Valley Housing Advisory Board.
Okay, we don't have one of those.
We have to approve the housing plan of how many low-income housing you're gonna have to do and all that.
Right.
Is there enforcement, does SCAG have any way of, I know they make you do the plan.
Right.
And it's something like
Well,
that.
this is where they get tricky, is that they go, you need to rezone it, but that doesn't mean you have to build it.
Yes.
Well, the problem is, once you rebuild it, let's look at Yorba Linda. Once you rezone it, something becomes more valuable for the developer. Because they can build a super high density thing. Look at the fight that's going on in Yorba Linda where they failed on the recall, but because the previous council rezoned it, and then the new council said, and the developer came in and said, well, we rezoned it, we gotta let you build it. So you're losing all the control. So you're on the housing authority deal, but RENA still tells you as a city, I don't know what's the number here? Do you know the number of how many low income? Ours was at 900 and we're trying to,
Ours is like 350.
okay, so we were 1,800, okay. So it was huge. I mean, and this is the way I put it. I said, look, because I'm on the council and I've had to be part of the rezoning. And I always say, look, by that point, we're the end and they're the shoe coming down because they can nail you. Back to the question of, look what happened in Mission Viejo as well. They had that big super Kmart up there where they didn't do it appropriately, didn't do the numbers appropriately. Well, then the state takes over your zoning ability. The state will come in and take your zoning away from you so you no longer have control of your city. How's that for regionalism? It's called regionalism, and they're trying to make broader regions. They want to get rid of the cities and build them into broader regions.
Is there an enforcement, does SCAG, and the way SCAG enforces it is you're saying?
Well, SCAG's the one SCAG appoints the numbers. The regional housing needs assessment figures out how many low-income housing. What SCAG is trying to do too, cap and trade, which is entirely a redistribution of wealth away from the companies, and now the money, the $1 billion coming from cap and trade is going to be applied to low-income housing and the needy. It's all, it's got to go for the needy, because, so that's taking the money from the successful businesses and giving it to, illegals or whatever. I mean, that's what they want to do. It's got to go toward needy causes.
Hey, Mike, can I add something here?
Yes, Mike.
I read a couple months ago, I'm always scanning the local progressives for what they're up to, and I found a meeting in Santa Ana from a low-income housing advocacy group, and the meeting was about global warming. I piqued my curiosity. Well, why is low-income group have about global warming?
Is that the Kennedy?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Kennedy group.
Yeah, so I went there and just sat and listened. They're claiming, they're pulling from AB 32, which is that stealing it from industry.
SB 375, AB 32.
Right, stealing $3 to $5 billion from industry a year, giving 25% of it to low-income housing groups. They're using a thing from the Cal EPA has a map of what they call disadvantaged cities. And I looked at the map, these were all like red and purple districts that are injecting blue voters into red districts, stealing money through this program.
Well, we're not, where are you? Let me give one last kind of a parting point here real quick, is that you'll see, when you look at Agenda 21, you'll see a map. How many, some of you have seen that orange and red map and shows there are little places where people are in the end game, where people get to live, because they're saying families are no longer sustainable, religion's no longer sustainable, but they have little places where the people are going to live. And the way they're doing that is you'll start hearing about wilderness corridors, wilderness overlays. So I was up there listening to $30 million wilderness bridges, so large carnivores can meander across, into your neighborhoods, mountain lions and bears and wolves. They want to reintroduce wolves. And then they do the sustainable development, we call it our regional, our RTP, our regional transportation plan up Northern California. They've got a one Bay Area plan, and these groups like SCAG are writing these plans, so they make it really easy to build homes and build not homes, no, but 6, 8, 10-story apartment units right on a rail system. They want you out of your cars, walking, biking, on a rail system, no longer having cars, and you don't have to do almost anything as far as permits. We'll let you do it, but if you want to build outside of that, they're going to sue you and ruin your lives. If you try to do anything other than what they want you to do, they're going to make it really easy. So it's all that nudging, and they're doing it through that. So.
And before he leaves, it's happening here.
I'll leave my speakers. I'll just keep my speakers here, so you can keep going.
It's happening here in Huntington Beach. Yeah. Most of us trust the people we elect to do what they're supposed to do. But procedures have evolved over the years that allow city council to make exceptions. I mentioned this at the last meeting. This apartment complex right across from Mother's Market, I guess, which way is it? Right behind me. Over there. The staff said there would be a traffic problem. The majority on the council passed it anyway on a procedure called special consideration. These are the kinds of things we have to get familiar with them, and we have to start attending the meetings, because if nobody's there, you can't count on our equivalent of Mike, because if there's only 3 votes, the 4 are going to carry it. So we really have to get serious if we don't want to see more of this.
My SCAG meetings, I got 84 members and I'm one, I go, no, against 83 other yeses. Yes.
Can you stay for about another half hour?
You got my speakers. Yeah.
Okay, great. I promised Gloria a chance to make an announcement, and then we'll have a short business meeting, and then we'll have our auction, and then for those of you who can, and stick around and talk with Lynn and Eric and Mike. Gloria.
All right. Is everybody getting ready for the election? You all excited? All right. This Thursday night, the Huntington Beach and Fountain Valley Precinct Patriots, we have a headquarters, a Republican headquarters, Dana Rohrabacher's headquarters, at 18800 Brookhurst. If you'll write that down, Thursday night, 18800 Brookhurst. We are having a training in how to get the vote out. It's going to be at 6:30 till about 7:30, real short, quick training. And then on voting day, on election day, November 4th, we're all going to meet at the headquarters, and we're going to go to the polling places. And at the polling places, we're going to see who has voted, who hasn't, and phone those that haven't voted, and only Republicans, and get them out. People that we know are conservatives and vote. So if you want to help get the vote out and get the conservatives out so we can win this election and get Eric elected and Lynn elected and Michael Gates elected, and Michelle Steele and Dana Rohrabacher elected, then please join us Thursday night, 18800 Brookhurst. What's it cross date? 6:30. It's between Garfield and Ella. It's right next to Turner's
Outdoors.
the gun place. We're next to Obama, the Democrat headquarters are next to the divorce and the bankruptcy. We're next to the guns and the archery.
Okay, Thursday night, the opportunity to get something done. Okay, this is the where do we go from here portion of the meeting. We've had 10 scheduled meetings. We are not in a position to rent this facility anymore because our entire amount of money is under scrutiny now by the Franchise Tax Board. I'm going to ask Joanne, our treasurer, to just give a short report.
Right now, we have.
Here, Joanne.
Right now, we have a total of $2,736 in our bank account. $1,750 is a checking account. We have $985 in a savings account. We have them in 2 accounts in order to have no charges, no bank charges levied against the account. So that's our total net worth.
I didn't know there'd be so many people here, so unfortunately I didn't make enough copies of the agenda. For those of you who have a copy, if somebody doesn't have it near you, share it. But the main point is the Franchise Tax Board is billing us for $3,147. We only have 2 options. We can either complete the application process to become an exempt organization, and there's no guarantee they'll approve it, or we can pay our bills in advance, such as our website and email bill, pay that in advance. We might want to consider putting some money down for one of these eating places that I'll talk about in a minute, and then we make an offer to compromise to the Franchise Tax Board. We go out of business as a corporation because there's no real reason for us to be a corporation, and they would then take whatever we have in our bank account to satisfy what we owe them. So it's a lot of work. I've polled the leadership team, and the majority are recommending, rather than go through the work of possibly becoming an exempt organization, let's just go ahead and do an offer to compromise. Before we do that, though, we need to make some spending decisions. And the 2 options that I have on the agenda, we have the possibility of meeting at Old World or meeting at Fusion. I don't know how many of you know where Fusion is. It's on Edinger, right adjacent to the Thomasville Furniture Store. And it was just a recreation area for kids, but now they've turned it into a place where you can come, you can have meals, you can have meetings, and they also have an arcade area for young kids. So over the course of the next week or so, I'm going to be looking for feedback from you, and I'd like to have any comments that anybody has to make at this time about where or when would you like to see us meet, and what, if anything, that you can think of that we need to do for the franchise tax board? Terry?
Is the rental for those properties less than this, or?
No, they're more, it's more.
It's more what?
It's more, but at this point, we can't commit to renting here because all of our money is under obligation to the franchise tax board. So if we go to either Fusion or Old World, we have to commit to having enough people come there to order a meal and drink, and then, then they won't charge us anything. Yes, George?
What's the basis for this tax? I mean, how do they get so much money more than what we had?
Okay, very quickly, the process of being a corporation in California carries with it an $800 per year fee. If you get approved as exempt or nonprofit, which is a different category, then that $800 fee is waived. John Cormier, who started this, intended this to be a nonprofit corporation. But you all know what the IRS did in 2011 and 2012 with applications for nonprofit. But they stymied us. Well, so John never completed the process. He left. Nobody else wanted it, so I stepped in and said, okay, I'll do this. I don't know anything about corporations. David, bless his heart, tried to make clear to me some of the things we need to do, and it just went over my head. So I sort of stuck my head in the sand. Well, let's wait and see what happens. What happened is 3 years at $800 plus interest plus late fees comes out to $3,147. Yes.
I have two questions. Why do we have to be a corporation and be involved in all that? And secondly, are we looking to free places like even churches and stuff?
Okay, we don't need to be a corporation. As I said, the reason for starting the process was to get to become a non-profit corporation. So right now, we have no prospects of big donors. So nobody gains anything by donating to us. So Newport Mesa is not a corporation. Santa Ana Tea Party is not. Your second question: the churches are leery of making groups available that have any kind of political indication. Now, we as a group have not formally endorsed anybody. We're primarily educational. But it's very difficult with all that's going on to get the churches to say yes, because they are all 501c3 nonprofit corporations. Mike Munzing alluded to what's going on in Houston. This is just the first shot of many that are coming that will threaten the churches in this country. Question?
No, I'm ready to stand up and fight.
Okay, another question about these problems. Any comments about where we might go? There's nothing wrong with Old World, but we have to get it. Now, Bill Galing, our systems administrator, did a survey. Bill, could you briefly explain what happened with that?
Hi, folks. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Okay, I'm the guy who puts out all the emails, manages the website, sends out things like surveys and whatnot.
And he does it at a very princely salary.
All right, and so, unfortunately, our projector has kind of slipped into Never Land, so we don't have the ability to present everything that particular way, so I'll just have to read some of this stuff to you. Okay, just to give you an idea how things work over here. Okay, on Thursday, October 9th, basically, I sent out a survey to all of you folks out there. Okay, we have 344 people on our email list. Okay, this email went out to 344 people. Okay, 343 of those emails were delivered. Okay, and this is a little bit behind the schedule, because a few things have happened since the time that I started looking at this stuff. But people who received the email, of those 344, the number of people who opened the email was 104. 30%. That's all. Now, this is not unusual. Generally, we have a reaction to our emails about 35–36%. This was lower, okay, but not terribly worse, okay, but not really great either. And quite frankly, we don't understand why people don't open their emails, okay? But it's some magic. We haven't got the magic to figure out exactly what that is. Okay, anyway, so we had 104 people who opened the email, and of those 104, only 50 pushed the button to take the survey. So, not very good reaction there either, okay? And of those folks who did that, basically, let's see, where will we over here? Okay, so once the surveys were open and 50 people responded, clicked the button, okay, well then after that, only less than 50% of the people actually completed the survey, okay? And that was, so we had 50 people open the emails, 29 completed the survey, and we thank all of you who did so. Okay, about 42% of those people, 21 just simply couldn't be bothered. Again, we don't know why. Okay, we're hoping, as part of this organization, that we have people who are going to work with us to meet our objectives. So far, that has not been a good bet. But let's go through the survey itself. Okay, question 1 on the survey was, in 2015, we do not plan to pay $105 per evening, okay, for use of the Newland Barn, this place. Okay, we can go to Old World, use their main room, buy food and drink. We have tentatively reserved the 3rd Tuesday of each month. Do you support the decision to move to the Newland Barn? Of the 30 people who answered the email, answered the survey, all 30 answered this question, okay, and 96% of the people said, yeah, we'd be happy to go. We thank you for that, okay. Only one person said no. Okay, well, that's pretty good this time around. Question 2. Okay. Are you looking to meet the 3rd Tuesday at Old World? And again, 26 of the 30 people said yes. That's approximately 87%. Okay, only 4 said no, they would not make the trip to Old World. Question 3. Can you commit to attending at least 8 evenings during that year and ordering food and drink? Everybody answered except 1, okay? But only 17 people said that they could do so. So that puts us at 58%, okay? 12 people said no, 41%. Again, we don't know why these people feel this way or don't. Okay. Question 4 had to do with providing your name if you agreed with the first 3, and I'm not going to give anybody names at this particular point in time. So question 5 basically said Surf City Tea was incorporated, blah, 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 okay, as to be a 501c3, per Ron's comments from earlier. Okay, do you support, essentially, our intended focus for 2015, okay, which is that we're happy to talk about national issues, okay, but again, we are primarily concerned with local issues, okay, but we think we need to keep national issues on the docket, okay, in order to maintain interest on the part of a lot of people who don't follow anything except the national races, okay. Again, on this, We got 92% of the folks who took the survey said yes, they were okay with this idea, okay? And essentially, what was the last question? Do you support the idea that we should stay viable, okay, so that we can make a difference? 96% agreed with that as a concept. So, that basically was the objects that were on the survey, okay? In addition to that, we asked people for some issues of what was their highest priority, second highest, et cetera, okay, for us to look at, okay? This stuff serves no purpose for me to talk about it. I have a few copies here, you can take a look at it. We've only listed the highest priority, the second highest priority in terms of things that people thought we needed to do beginning in 2015, okay? And I have a few copies of that here. Those of you who are interested can come and look at it after the meeting is over. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, you've heard the problem, you've heard the options that we seem to have. I'd like to hear now from you, what are some of your observations in relation to what we've been talking about? Yes?
Okay, I'm just going back to the corporation meeting, because we moved from Indiana 2 years ago. We were involved in the Tea Party there. A lot of the Tea Party groups were just meetup groups. They weren't incorporated, they weren't formal. So I guess that's what I thought you guys were, was the first time coming here tonight, we just heard about you. So why do we have to go the
Did you hear about us through the Huntington Beach?
We heard through the Orange County Register.
Orange County Register. Okay, I want to be sure to get your names before. Okay, other comments about where we're going? Yes, sir.
I would like to know how many people listen to all this stuff would love to go to Disneyland and just forget about all this stuff and just go to Disney and just have a good time.
Yeah, I think you put the.
Are you a member here? Well, thanks for visiting.
Yeah.
Please go on, Ron.
The idea is, I think what he said is really true for a lot of people. With all of the bad news, with all of the seemingly unresolvable problems.
No thanks. Why don't you just take off?
It's just a little difficult to feel like, what can I as one individual do? And that's why we think that it's important for us to keep going. We are, I think, essentially going to become, your phrase, a meetup group. We will stay in contact with you by the email. Please go to the website. Bill, he puts in a lot of time keeping it up. He has good information there. I have to confess, I don't go to the website that much. I'm not a website person. Terry and Carol in the back there, and Gloria and Carol, have really been pushing this whole idea of Twitter and Facebook, and they are getting some good results with the people who come and work with them over at the Precinct Patriot headquarters. This group should keep going if for no other reason than we provide a cadre of willing workers to go and participate and make a difference. Joseph, for example, had never been on Twitter before. He says, "Well, what the heck? I'll learn Twitter."
Thanks for coming by.
So, I think what I'd like to do is pursue these options. I need to talk with the managers at Old World and Fusion and get some very clear numbers from them. How many people do you really need to have at what cost per person in order to waive the rental fees? Once I find that out, then I'll put that in an email, and then we can decide. Maybe we'll have our next meeting at Old World, maybe at Fusion, or maybe we'll just meet in Carol's again so we can sit around in a more comfortable atmosphere to talk. Okay, yes, sir, in the back.
Yeah, why can't you continue renting the room here at Red Farm?
The problem with renting this room is we are here as a nonprofit organization, and so we are here at a reduced rent. We're currently only paying
$150 a night.
No, this is $80 for 2 hours. But once we complete our process with Franchise Tax Board, we're not going to have any more money. So I can't commit to renting this place. Plus, I think a majority would agree, the acoustics in this room are really poor. It doesn't really lend itself to breaking up into discussions. Yes, George?
Any way to get the franchise tax board to agree that that was a mistake, that we didn't need to be a corporation or anything else, and just waive the whole thing and be done with it?
Yes, we'd certainly like to try that, and when we make the offer to compromise, we'd certainly ask that. But unfortunately, as a former government employee, these folks have to justify their existence, and so you probably have to go pretty high up on the food chain before you can find anybody that would be willing to waive it. Yes?
Why can't we meet at Total Wine?
Oh, Total Wine, that's...
Because I thought that was...
That's a good place to meet just for discussions. It holds about 25, 26 people. There's 40 or so here tonight. I'm really glad to see all of you here. That's great. But we had a good, attractive program. Mike Munzing was really good, and I'm glad he came and spent time with us. It wouldn't fit at Total Wine. There was another question. I saw another hand. Okay, well, we need to get some more information. We will start the process with Franchise Tax Board, and like Mike Munzing, maybe a miracle could happen. think positive. Okay, at this point, Mary Jane is going to have a very short auction.
I have some Surf City tea items I'm auctioning off tonight. I have a golf shirt. It's a large. Do I have a bid on it?
What are you starting? What's the starting bid?
Give me an item. Anybody want this?
20.
Pardon? 20? You have $20? It's yours. I have two large t-shirts. They're just like the t-shirt that I have on. Surf City t-shirts. They're larges. Anybody want one?
What size are they?
They're large.
Anybody have $5?
They're on small.
You have an extra large?
No, I'm sorry, no. I have a hooded sweatshirt, Surf City Tea sweatshirt, hooded. It's a large. Great for when you're running in the morning. No, perfect. I have coffee cups.